day, Internet, far and wide. This is DTNS Live for Thursday, May 15th, 2025. We're halfway through the month, everybody. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
And I'm still north of the wall, and I'm still Amos, and I'm still producing because Roger's still out.
DTNS Live is made possible by its listeners thanks to all of you, including Miranda Janelle, That Charlie Dude, Justin Zellers, and Mark Ballou.
Hey, thanks to all of the folks who support us here on DTNS Live. This is the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand it a little bit better. Sometimes you just got to do a little bit of a roundtable and be like, how does everybody feel about this? And your support and also your feedback makes the show better every single day. Speaking of feedback, Amos, I know you're beyond the wall. How's it going up there?
It's green. It's so green. Yeah.
Green
the
is
lawn
good.
guys came today.
Green is good. Reminds me of money.
Yeah. Well, there's that. Spent money having the yard guys come and do my yard today. So that's where we're at. Mosquitoes are in, as I said yesterday, and everything's green and the pollen's coming in. So all my least favorite things are hitting all at the same time: yard work, pollen, and mosquitoes.
And sneezing.
Well, yeah, that comes with the mosquitoes and the pollen because they like to fly right in your face. So.
Robb, are you in mosquito season up in Columbus yet?
It's not mosquito season yet, but we're getting really close to it. But I'm in a good place. Kid Bot 2 is home from college, about to celebrate a big milestone birthday, and I get to use 60 to 70% fewer restrooms in my home than I was able to just a week ago. So all things are good in the Dunewood household.
Oh, yeah. Don't you love that whole that was my bathroom? Okay, all right. I'll move my stuff into the other bathroom. It's fine. Yes.
Dad, you were using my bathroom. It's like, it's my bathroom.
It's like, what's in this drawer?
It's
all my stuff, Dad. Don't touch it.
Yeah. It's my mortgage, my bathroom. That's the end of that story.
Exactly.
Well, we are here to talk about tech news. So in that vein, let's start with the quick hits.
Coinbase confirmed a data breach affecting less than 1% of its 9.7 million monthly users, saying an attacker gained access by paying overseas support contractors for internal data. Stolen information included names, contact details, social security numbers, bank info, ID documents, and transaction history. Coinbase says it refused to pay a $20 million ransom and now expects to pay between $180 and $400 million in related cost and security.
That's an expensive upgrade for security, but if you're saying I'm not paying the ransom, then
it's not like it was 20 or you pay up to 400 million. They were going to have to do that regardless of whether they paid the ransom or not, because they still had to fix their systems. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's a lot of money to get it fixed, but they need to get it fixed.
They do. Apple's CarPlay Ultra launches today, and you might say, "Ooh, how exciting! What's that? What's that about?" Well, if you drive an Aston Martin, then you would know. Aston Martin orders are now live in the U.S. and Canada. So this is a very small rollout with one very expensive car manufacturer, with a software update coming soon for existing models. The system offers full screen integration and custom gauges. So essentially, instead of looking at the speedometer, on your dash, if your car is applicable, then you see a CarPlay version of that and other bells and whistles as well. The system offers stuff for, in the future, hopefully, Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis. Those were three manufacturers that Apple mentioned reportedly adopting it at some point, but we have no idea when.
Pocket Pair, the developer of Palworld, is removing gameplay features to avoid legal issues from patents held by Nintendo and the Pokémon company. The lawsuit targets broad gameplay mechanics rather than direct copyright claims and has led Pocket Pair to patch out elements like Pal Sphere and gliding using in-game creatures. The company continues to dispute the validity of the patents.
Microsoft is retiring its Bing search APIs for third-party developers on August 11th. Although Microsoft sometimes says these things and then those dates slide. Ending support for apps and smaller search engines using Bing results. New signups are blocked and existing APIs will be decommissioned. Microsoft recommends switching to Bing grounding via Azure AI agents, Major partners, DuckDuckGo among them, will retain access. The move follows recent price hikes and comes ahead of Microsoft Build and some Department of Justice action against Google's ad business.
Apple CEO Tim Cook's plan to import India-made iPhones for U.S. sales has reportedly angered the U.S. president, who said he previously urged Cook to boost U.S. production, instead citing India's high tariffs. Speaking at a business summit, President Trump claimed Apple would shift more manufacturing to the U.S., but gave no timeline, and Apple has not yet responded to comments.
Oh, I can imagine Apple being like, you know what? That is not how we do things.
They probably were not happy about this at all. At all.
WWDC has not happened yet. Like this is not an announcement. Pinterest said a recent wave of account bans was due to an internal error that led to over-enforcement of its content policies, with some users suspended without clear explanation and appeals ignored or rejected overall. The company has begun restoring affected accounts and says it's improving its systems to prevent similar mistakes. But it says AI moderation, even though some people felt it was the culprit in this, was not responsible for the issue. YouTube launched a weekly top podcast shows chart in the US to compete with Spotify and also Apple and others. The list ranks shows by watch time and includes titles like The Joe Rogan Experience and Rotten Mango, popular shows. YouTube is now the most used platform for podcast listening. YouTube is very excited about this, surpassing both Spotify and Apple. This is according to Edison Research. The move reflects YouTube's push to solidify its role in video podcasting and audio too, but very much video, and attract more creators with its very large audience, potential audience anyway, and what a lot of people say are competitive and even better payout rates.
So first thing, I have an issue with the list. Why is DTNS Live not like sixth?
Yeah.
We should be sixth. That's the first. You know, I know that, you know, Rogan is big, so I'm not going to say we're Rogan big, but we should be in the top 10.
I think we should be in the top 10 as well, especially because you know, kind of going through this morning, on the surface, I was like, okay, top 10 podcast, like great, way to go, YouTube. But as I dug into it, I was like, this is interesting because people are noting that, you know, if you look at top 10 podcasts on a variety of, you know, Apple and Spotify, of course, you know, they're the big ones, but a variety of just third-party apps, most of the time, you kind of see all the same stuff. And maybe there's some algorithmic stuff going on, you know, based on what else you listen to. But it's like you know, the top podcasts are always This American Life, Joe Rogan, you know, and so on and so on, you know, NPR Today, and you know, so I feel like Discovery, to me, I'm sort of like, I mean, I listen to like 30 podcasts regularly. Like, I'm good. I don't really need to like discover anymore. But if YouTube is doing things differently, and Bloomberg Business's Ashley Carman notes, you know, that the top 10 is pretty different than other charts, because it's ranking those programs by watch time, meaning, you know, how long is the show and how long did you watch it, the way that they would rank any video. Updates every week, or are you updating just kind of sporadically? That has always docked a podcast in the past, because people just fall off because they want something that's regular. So, you know, if you're publishing frequently and you have longer episodes where the watch time might, you know, turn into someone likes you more because your podcast is longer, and so therefore they listen to it longer. That's interesting to me.
So here's the thing with YouTube, and for a lot of people listening, they may not be aware that YouTube is the #1 destination for podcast consumption, not just video, but audio as well. And the reason for that is because it has something that really no other directory does, at least does well, and that is it has the second largest search engine on Earth attached to where you listen to podcasts. Basically, YouTube is also a search engine, and it's a very, very popular search engine. And what you get with YouTube is the algorithmic reach that you really don't get anywhere else. So there are things you can do with actual, search engine optimization and, your show being popular, because not just because it's ranked high because the number of people started it, but people actually finished it, are sharing it. All those metrics and all that algorithmic stuff goes into YouTube's ranking, which is really, really good because it's based off of a Google search algorithm. So I think that's one of the reasons why you're going to see so many people using this, because it's still, I still run into a lot of folks. It's like, no, you can't be nobody. Why would anybody just listen to a podcast on YouTube? It's like, well, everybody has YouTube on their phone. It's just easy to do. And if you search for something, you can easily find it in YouTube. It's very difficult to find a podcast in pretty much all the other directories. I don't want to say it's impossible, because it does happen, but it's not like YouTube, where you are just used to searching the same way that you would search Google, and stuff just comes up, and you can actually discover a lot of new stuff. You're already there. You're right.
Yeah.
My big problem with this is I can't, like, I've subscribed to videos on YouTube, and I might not see a new video by a creator that I've been subscribed to for years because of the way the algorithm works on the YouTube homepage. Why, if they want to be the biggest podcast people on the planet, then why can't I just go to a creator, hit subscribe, and have that just show up on my phone to where it just plays along with my other podcasts? It's like this half commitment that YouTube has been doing for years.
I mean, if you go to, so I'm at youtube.com right now. And I am logged in as myself. So, I see all my subscriptions and, stuff that is being served up to me, including Big Bear, Bald Eagle, Live Nest, Cam 1. But in the Explore section, I mean, you've got your podcast tab, but I get what you're saying, Amos, is it would, and also, I mean, new podcasts that are being recommended to me, some of this might be good. There's some like a true crime mystery that, I love doing that when I'm out on a walk. And some of the stuff I'm like, I would never listen to this, and or watch it, whatever. And it's not because it's not a good podcast. It's just, I know it's not for me. There's only so much time in the day. So the podcasts that are being recommended every so often I'm just kind of like, I'm going to save the stuff that I haven't listened to yet or watched. But usually my podcast consumption is audio because I'm out on a walk or I'm driving or, doing errands, that kind of stuff. And every so often I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do something different. I found a fitness podcast recently because I'm, trying to get more fit after a dormant winter, let's call it that. And, I found this podcast where I was like, it's not like perfect for me, but it was kind of, it was like, I never would have found this otherwise. I don't know who these people are. They're well liked by a community, but it was just something that was served up to me. So I feel like YouTube can do that well because it knows your behavior more than any other network.
So here's one of the things. YouTube brilliantly named their podcast app YouTube Music. Everybody would think that's the first place you would go. You have an app called YouTube Music. That's where you would go.
Yeah, it's like going to iTunes for a podcast.
Yeah,
it's like,
they do have a dedicated podcast player that used to be called Google Podcast. And they said, you know what? That's too confusing. Call it the thing that it is. Let's call this thing, YouTube Music. So you can go and get a YouTube first experience there, or at least as soon as you click on the tab for podcasts, they're all there. The other thing is that, this is what a lot of people have a problem with. YouTube is not trying to be the biggest, baddest podcast directory in the world. They're trying to be the biggest, baddest if your podcast is on YouTube directory in the world. So if you don't actually have your podcast listed on YouTube, and there are an awful lot of audio podcasts that still have not done it, even though you can add RSS, it's not like just, you just throw your RSS up and everybody subscribes to it. No, you have to physically put your show on YouTube. Once you do it, it's really easy. But if you don't do that, YouTube could care less about showing you someone else's show that is not on their platform. So it is an incomplete directory of all podcasts, but it is very, very good for the shows that are on the platform. And if you are interested in listening or watching, podcasts specifically on YouTube, I would recommend getting YouTube Music. It's another free app, at least from the podcast perspective, that makes it really, really easy to find what you're looking for and watch what you're looking for in an interface that is designed for listening and watching podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not going to do it.
I was wondering, I could feel you, Amos, being like, I'm going to say something now. Yeah, not going to do it.
It's just a matter of there's great podcast players out there, which we're probably going to get to here in a minute, but that already have every feature that I need that are small developer, senior developer that I spend money on that are awesome. And I used to be able to just take a link from YouTube, throw it in there, and it would automatically download those, and YouTube killed that. I'm not going to switch over to a YouTube specific player to catch those videos. That makes it completely pointless to me.
Well, speaking of YouTube, the company also launched new shoppable ad formats for connected TVs, letting users browse products with a remote or a QR code to buy things or send links to their own phones. The update was announced at YouTube's Upfront. This is going on. It does every year. And backed by Nielsen and Kantar data, with YouTube reporting over 50 million monthly conversions from CTV ads in late 2024. Basically, the company saying, this works.
YouTube
All right,
ads
Rob.
they work very well.
All right, Rob, we've got a question for the panel and everybody out there. VIP question for everybody today. We want everyone to participate. What is the question?
The question is, and I'll just give a little bit of backstory. So yesterday, I was sitting down and I had a older Android device that I said, let me blow this thing away and I want to reinstall it fresh. And instead of just downloading all my apps from recovery, I'm going to manually install the apps on here that I want. And it got me to think. I was like, you know what? Let me go ask the internet. So I went to Threads and actually posted a post, and it did a lot better than I thought it was going to do. It's probably one of my more popular posts in the last couple of months. And just asked the question: what are the first 3 apps that you would install on your brand new phone? Doesn't matter if it is Android or iPhone. We're not talking about the stock apps that are just there, but when you have to actually go to an app store and physically install an app, what are the first 3 apps and why are you going to install?
All right. Should I go first?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm a bit of an outlier here because not only do I almost never use my mobile device, I rock an iPhone 15 Pro Max, but I just am a desktop person at heart, or laptop. I like the physical keyboard, all sorts of stuff. But when I'm out and about, the iPhone is indispensable, and I've been an iPhone user for decades at this point. I always just restore it from an iCloud backup, so I have like 300 apps on my phone every time I get a new phone because I'm just like, I don't know, I'll deal with that later, and then I just never do. So my phone is just a cluttered mess, but the home screen is very important. If I were to just wipe the whole thing and be like, all right, how do you live? I would say my 3 are pretty much all ways that I communicate with other people. Slack would be number 1 because I talk to, even though all of us here on DTNS, we use Discord, I use Slack for lots of other stuff just throughout the day. Sometimes it's work and sometimes it's just like, friend stuff. Slack would be number 1. I think LastPass would be number 2 because that's my password manager, and I'm constantly just, I'm on the go and I'm like, I need to get into LastPass, like something's not right. I'm trying to log into, my bank or whatever. That would be number 2. And then I guess number 3 would be Instagram, because Instagram is like, if I'm at the DMV and I'm sitting there for an hour, it's like, I want Instagram. That's how I don't kill myself.
What about you, Amos?
I am going to want to go somewhere. I'm going to want to know what it's going to be like when I get there, and I'm going to want to be entertained on the way there. So my 3 are going to be Carrot Weather, Waze, and Overcast.
Okay.
And Overcast being the podcast app.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite single developer over podcast player.
Yeah, that's Marco Arment, right? Overcast? Yep. Yeah. All
So-
right, so we got Carrot Weather. We've got, what was the second one?
Ways.
Ways, because you want to get there. And then once you get there or on the way, that's see, if you had nothing else, I think you're onto something. You're like, I'm going to have a lot of content and a lot of information.
And all three of those are apps that replace the built-in apps on the phone. You know, that just that tells you where I'm at.
You
with
just like
that.
them better.
Yeah.
So I am going to go with, and I'm actually changing my list slightly from yesterday because enough people said a certain type of app, and I was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. That probably would be first. The very first thing I'm going to install is going to be LastPass. That is my password vault. And in order for me to use any of these apps, I have to know what the passwords for them are. So LastPass just makes sense.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like if you don't have LastPass, you're just like, oh God.
So, I mean, very few passwords that I have committed to memory. LastPass, the master password for that is one of them. My primary Gmail account is another one, but I have very, very few passwords just committed to memory any longer because I got a password vault. So LastPass would be the first thing that I would install. Mm-hmm. Number two would be, and I'm dating myself here, but it would be Evernote. I subscribe to a personal productivity, type of style called building a second brain. Everything that I intend to remember, everything that is of any significance to me, probably in the last 3.5 to 4 years, is inside of Evernote. It's actually a lot more than that because I've been using Evernote for years and years. But since I've been building a second brain, everything is in Evernote. So for me to even remember what apps I like, they probably have been created in a list in Evernote at some point.
I mean, you're not the only person who is still like Evernote works for me. You know, there's Notion. There are Superhuman. There are other options now,
Obsidian,
but I mean,
I have
Evernote
tried,
is people say, you know, this is just the way.
I have tried a ton of things to get away from Evernote because I would love to say that there's something better than Evernote for my use case that I would just love to use. I tried to use Notion. It's not it. I've tried to use Obsidian. It's not it. Evernote just works. And it could just be because I'm just, resistant to change. But everything that that is me for like the last 3.5 to 4 years is in Evernote. So that definitely is going to go on there. And then the third one would be, and this is for many of the same reasons, probably Google Drive, because anything digitally that I have that I want to save, that's just where it goes. That is now I may use Dropbox for some things. I may use, I may use what is Microsoft? I can't even think of the name of it.
OneDrive.
OneDrive. I use OneDrive because it's got like my desktop and stuff in there. But everything that I intend to save that is a digital document, it goes somewhere inside of my of my Google Drive. So that would be the second. And then everything else, I mean, there's so many other apps that I'm going to install right after I get those three, but those are probably the three most consequential to me at this point, simply because I need the passwords to everything. So that's going to be LastPass. Evernote is my second brain, and then it's an extension of my second brain is Google Drive. So those are going to be my three.
You know,
See, I would almost go with that.
Amos.
I've switched almost all my passwords over from LastPass to the built-in passwords manager in iOS now, except for work passwords. The only thing I really use LastPass for, because we're all we all share passwords for all the brilliant stuff. And then I've got iCloud is my equivalent for your Google Drive. That's where I keep all the important documents, stuff like that. All the documents that I need to share with my family and everything else, it all goes in there because we all on a family account. So yeah, that's kind of where I'd be with those. But then an Evernote is an interesting one because I have never been able to commit to a second brain. I've tried Evernote, I've tried Obsidian, I've tried Notion, I've tried, if there's something out there for it, I've tried it. And I can't quite find a functional way to build a second brain for myself. So I just never been able to do it.
Yeah, there's a good book by Tiago Fortes, Building a Second Brain. And I was even doing it before reading that book, but it just gave you a very practical and easy way to do it. Now, you've got to commit to it. It took me probably 2 or 3 months to get to the point to where it just became second nature to stick everything in there. But yeah, anything that, I take pictures of stuff all the time. They go right in Evernote. Any note that I take, I still use a Galaxy S25 Ultra. I like that stylus because if I do any handwritten notes, which I do quite a bit, they go right into Evernote. All that stuff is there. And it gets the OCR, the optical character recognition from my handwriting. So yeah, it just makes it easy. And like I said, because I do use that would definitely be the first. I would install it first if I knew the password to it, but I need to install LastPass to actually get the password to Evernote.
Yeah. No, I cannot tell you how many times I was like, hold on. I was actually renting a car somewhat recently, and there was like, I don't know, some reason why I think, they needed like a copy of, my insurance. And so I was like, all right, let me, log into AAA and, I can probably do this. And it's like, the password's all screwed up, and LastPass, I'm going in there. And the person behind the counter, you could tell they were looking at me like, this isn't going to work. And then finally I was like, yes. We did it. Thank you, LastPass mobile app. And it all worked out. I feel like there was a point, not that long ago really, but before widgets and, smartphones got a lot smarter and we had a lot more options where it was like, what's on your home screen? Very important. Says a lot about you. I haven't really changed my home screen in a while. I have some widgets, I change them out every now and then. I also have some folders, you're talking about Google Drive, Rob. It's like, I have a Google folder on my home screen where it's like all sorts of Google stuff. Like my Google things are in that folder. Needs to be in the front and center. But yeah, I don't know that we all talk about that as much anymore.
It's kind of one of those things, since now that everybody can do it, it's not a thing anymore. I mean, it still is a thing for people who do it, but it's kind of just second nature. You just organize your home screen however you want. On my home screen, Evernote, Google Drive, Dropbox, the things that have my second brain.
I also feel like once search got good on mobile, it's like I have apps where I probably have like 17 screens, not even kidding, just of a bunch of mostly junk, but also things that are important to me. It's like, do I need an Uber tonight? It's like, Uber's not on my home screen. I just search for Uber. It shows up. So that became something where I'm like, you just know what you want and then you ask for it and then it's there somewhere. Where is it? Doesn't really matter. It's kind of like the old days of desktops. Like, it doesn't have to be on your desktop. It's just in your machine somewhere, and you just search for it. Well, if you have thoughts on this or anything we might talk about in the future, a way to let us know what you care about is in our subreddit. Submit stories and vote on them at reddit.com/r/dailytechnewsshow. All right, Amos, there is some interesting news in genetics coming out of Australia this week. So what's up in science?
Well, I found a massive study involved over 2 million people that found 250 genes linked to OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder. It's touted as the biggest genetic breakthrough on the disorder to date, giving us a clearer picture of the biological roots. There's hope that this paves the way for better diagnostics and more focused treatments down the line. Now, that would be a nice, cool science and tech story in and of itself, but that's probably better left to someone who knows a bit more about it, like Dr. Nikki, so hopefully she'll come on and talk about it sometime. What I want to know is what tendency or condition do you have that you'd love to find out was genetic, not just you being weird?
What are you calling me, weird?
Everybody's weird.
We're all weird. We know this. Everyone's weird. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way. I don't know, Rob. Is there something that you're like, I'd love to know more about this thing that I do or the way that I feel?
There's a thing that I do, and I don't know why I do it, because if I just get out of my car and walk away from it, it will lock itself and put the alarm on. But before I put my keys in the dish where I put my keys when I come in the house, I have to hit my alarm button on my fob twice to hear my horn honk twice before I feel comfortable knowing that it gets locked out. And when I say that, I know when I shut the door, I hear the beep for the alarm and the door's locked. So I know that it's locked. But when I come in the house, I am just, it is like, I don't feel comfortable unless I hit that button twice, hear the horn, and stick it in the dish, to the point to where I've actually not done it and had to get up and go get the key, hit the thing, just so I would feel comfortable, because there was actually like a bit of uncomfortableness knowing that I did not actually hit my horn twice. And I know my neighbors hate me for it. I would have to imagine they all are aware. Rob's like, home, clearly. Rob's home. Honk, honk. You hear those two, honks whenever I get home. But for whatever reason, I'm just compelled to do this every single time I get out of the car. And it's only my car. I don't do it when I'm driving my wife's car. I don't really have an alarm on my motorcycle. I don't feel the need to do that. But, I on my car, I'm just, it is an OCD thing. I definitely don't feel comfortable if I do not hit that fob twice to hear that horn honk.
Well, and I mean, and important to remember that, obsessive compulsive disorder is something that affects people very differently. And, we might be talking more about just like, we have routines and we stick to them, so they're not always the same thing. But when it comes to just like weird stuff, what isn't weird that I do? But yes, I have a very specific way that I have to put things in my fridge. And that's not just sort of like, the apples go in the produce section and the milk goes, no, there's more to it than that. It's all like weight based, where it's like, if I have a carton of eggs and I've had 4 eggs, the rest of those 8 eggs have to be set a very, very specific way. Speaking of car alarms, somebody's car alarm is going outside right now, if anyone can hear that. And people are like, yeah, but like the eggs are in the fridge. Like, what do you care? And I'm like, no, I care. I just do. It doesn't matter. It does not matter at all. But it's something that I cannot let go of. Another thing I would love to know more about, when it comes to just sort of like, brain activity and genes and, who you are and, how your subconscious works is I'm a bit of a sleepwalker. Now, I'm not sleepwalking every night, but there have been enough documented incidents of it, is that something happens sometimes where I just, I get up and I'm not awake. This is not something I remember later. There might be evidence of it later, but I do a little sleepwalking, and I would love to know why that's the case, because I don't know anybody else who does that.
Well, if you could sleepwalk and clean while you're sleepwalking, that would be kind of awesome.
Amazing.
That would be awesome.
I wake up, house
prep.
is clean, and I don't remember.
Why does my kitchen smell so fresh first thing in the morning?
Yeah. No, I actually sleptwalked I don't know, the first time I can remember, when I was quite young. And what did I do? I went into the bathroom, and this is like in the area of like the era of like people were like putting a lot of gel in their hair. I know people still do that, but it was like, I don't know, my parents were using gel. And I just put the whole thing of gel in my hair, and then I went back to bed. And in the morning, my mom was like, why did you do that? And I'm like, what happened? I really didn't do that on purpose. Like, why would I do that? Like, yeah, like I'm uncomfortable and now I have to take a shower. So sleepwalking is a weird one.
I have a weird obsession with the number 4.
4.
So yeah, 4. Like when I look at tiles on the floor, I group them in 4s, and then I group those 4s into 4s, which become 16s. Those 16s become 64s. Those 64s become.
I get it.
Just keeps going from there. It's like while you guys were talking, I was getting ready to explain this, and I was thinking, I have 4 unopened Funko Pops on my floor behind me. I don't know how many are up there on the shelf, and it has to be a multiple of 4, because otherwise I need to go buy one to
make it
out.
4.
As a drummer, this has been something that's held me back, because not all songs are in 4/4 time. It's very difficult for me to drum if something is not in 4/4 time. It's something that I noticed when I was young, and then it's just exacerbated since there. For example, I can't even consider buying a truck that's not a 4x4 right now. I don't know why. It
just
something
makes
about
you
the number
feel
4.
better. Yeah.
Now that I know you're a drummer, I'm going to challenge you to play Take 5 by Dave Brubeck. Arguably the greatest song in 5/5 time, but you know.
How about anything by Tool? It's impossible for me. I can't do it.
Amos just said I can only do 4/4.
But yeah, so that's one of those things. Like I noticed it when I was really young, and it's always stuck with me. And I'd love to know that's part of OCD, and it's a genetic thing. It's not just my brain being wired weird. So yeah.
Well, the whole idea of OCD, is you can have obsessive thoughts and not act on them.
Mm-hmm.
You can do compulsive things and they're not tied with obsessive thoughts. And both of those things cannot be considered by a professional a disorder. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. So I think we all have those things where we're like, I know I'm weird in this way. I know I am. You live on the earth long enough and you're weird in some way. For example, when, Tom and I think it was on a show, I don't know if you were on the show or not, Rob, but we were talking about brain stuff and Tom was like, I associate the letters of the alphabet with colors.
Yeah.
And I was like, 26 of them? And he's like, oh yeah, all 26. And I'm like, all right, so what color is T? And he's like, purple. Right away, I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I can't remember. We have to go back to the episode and listen, but that's actually a thing. Tom Hanks has it, where and it's like you ask him any letter, he's going to immediately tell you what color that represents. But yeah, that's actually like a thing.
It is a thing, yeah. And I mean, one of my other things. Okay, we're not going to talk about all of our idiosyncrasies here, but one of my things is I will, when I think about a word, sometimes I in my mind I type it as if it's a QWERTY keyboard. It's like I don't know, horse, HORSE. And it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't do anything, but it's just like the way that I think of the word.
I can't not finish song lyrics.
What does that mean?
Like if you started a song, in my head, I'd have to finish the song.
To finish the song. I do that sometimes too, especially when I can't sleep at night. I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally just thought the whole song like in real time in my head.
I used to write them down in study hall just when I was bored.
Well, I think we're all very special snowflakes, but we do want to hear if you have anything where you're like, I've always wondered if I was the only one who did this, or that you're not. feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Send your feedback in. All right, Netflix's $7.99 ad-supported tier now has over 94 million monthly active users, says the company, up from 70 million in late 2024. Netflix is very happy with this. At its recent upfront, the company highlighted strong engagement, especially among that very 18 to 34-year-old demo that a lot of companies, especially when you're talking about like people who used to work in cable, very much care about, because it's a combination of not always males, but let's say 18 to 34-year-old males, people who are very passionate about the content, and then people who are old enough to buy things.
Mm-hmm.
It also said it's expanding its in-house ad platform to all 12 ad-supported countries by June. So it's doing some expansion there. But meanwhile, Amazon's ad-supported Prime Video now claims 130 million US users. Not exactly the same as monthly active users, but, a larger number on paper. And is testing AI-generated pausable ads as well.
Makes sense because people are cheap. And which one costs the least? Oh, the one with the ads? Okay, give me the ads. Particularly that since we still have folks that this is, a lot of these folks are millennials. They remember watching ads when they were watching cartoons on Saturday mornings way back when. Mm-hmm. So we have not gotten to the point to where it's the real young. This is the folks who are probably under 30 who are the ones who've just never really had an experience with ads. A lot of content is still created for the ad break. So I don't mind it. Just because it gives me the opportunity to get up and go get something to drink, or take a bio break or whatever,
save a couple bucks.
Exactly.
I really think this is a matter of these companies needed to do this now. Like everybody needed to get back into ads now, because you're going to have that generational gap where they don't understand ads in the middle of shows at all. They just hadn't been used to it. So if you didn't start weaning them back onto the ads, they were never going to be able to run the ads the way that we used to have ads back when all three of us were growing up. And they had to catch that thought market again before this whole class of people moved into the age where they're paying for their own Netflix and their own Amazon. They're like, why am I getting ads in the middle of something? Why would that happen? This is stupid. So if they didn't catch into it now, they were never going to. That being said, I'm cheap. I have the ads. I'd rather save the couple dollars.
You make a really good point, Amos, about people, about these companies thinking, wait a minute, if we completely get everybody off of ads, it'll be impossible for them to sit through them if it's not an experience that they've ever had. And here's the other part of this. It's not like these companies are making less money showing you ads. They're making more money. They're making more money by charging you yet less and showing you ads than if they just charged you more and didn't show you ads. So that's 100%. A big part of this as well. They make way more money showing you the ads and still charging you a hefty price for you to watch those ads.
It's funny, the whole idea of, the advertisement. You go to a variety of other countries and, I don't know, you turn on the TV at your Airbnb or whatever, and you're just kind of watching local stuff. US-based advertisements are different than anywhere else in the world. They just are. Unless you're watching BBC World, where they do kind of US stuff, even though it's more of a global offering. But I've got some cousins who live in Europe, and they're just like, it's like every 5 seconds there's an ad, and you're like, yeah, you just tune it out, or you like the ad. Or you get up, like you said, Rob, and like make yourself a sandwich real quick because you have a couple minutes type thing. The ad experience now that I have on YouTube TV, I definitely have it because it's basically TV. But half the time, because I don't even know what is going on with advertising companies, but half the time it's like ESPN, we're on our break. We're on our break, and you just see that screensaver for like a couple minutes before Sports Center comes back. Or I'm like, how are they not selling these ads still? That's insanity. But I also will watch, a variety of programs through a Plex server, and a lot of that stuff gets stripped out. My mom was visiting recently. My mom, who, lived until she was 10 years old before TV was even invented. So she's very familiar with ads. She's like, what is, we watch a show together. She's like, where are the commercials? And I'm like, oh, there aren't any. And she's like, how? And I'm like, because those are all inserted, Mom. That's not actually baked into the show. Yeah. That's something that gets dealt with later on.
That was when your mom was coming up, when she was young, even when we were young, ads were a thing that paid for the content that you were watching. You watch something on NBC, ABC, CBS, and 12 minutes in, you saw an ad. 24 minutes in, you saw an ad. You just kept seeing those ads throughout the entirety of the show. That's how the show was paid for. Today, you pay for the show, and the companies get paid for the ads. That's how these companies, their stock prices just keep going up and up and up because they figure out a way. Like, how can we make more money? And I'm not mad at them. This is what they do. They are for-profit organizations, but the relationship with ads today is definitely different than what it was, even 20 years ago. But if you're going back 30, 40, 50 years back, those ads are what allowed you to watch television for free, just with your rabbit ear antennas over the air. You never had to pay anything except for the electricity to watch television back in those days. Those were the good old days.
They were. I mean, there are many commercials. I don't know. Commercials these days, I'm like, gosh, they're so weird. But they've always been weird. And when I say weird, I mean, they're, it's designed to be an earworm or something where you're just like, I can't forget that commercial type thing. I mean, I can sing the double mint gum commercial till the day I die. Have I seen that in 40 years? No, I have not. But it's stuff that sticks with you.
Yeah. We saw those ads literally hundreds of times.
Yeah.
When we were kids, hundreds of times. So yeah, it would stick with you. And it's different today because you don't necessarily see them hundreds of times. You are going to see them a dozen times. And I think that most people aren't really bothered by ads. They're just bothered by the ads they're bothered by. and ultimately, having taken a marketing class here or there, one of the things that a commercial is supposed to do is you either will continue to watch it until you go buy the thing, or you will continue to watch it until you can't hate the thing or can't stand the thing and you will never buy it. Either one, that's what they're looking for. They want you to see this so that you know that this is what we sell and we want you to buy this thing from us. Hopefully you will want it at some point, but if you don't want it, we can at least eliminate you from, you will probably not be our customer.
Right.
Rob, I was just going to say that if you want to have that experience of seeing the same ad over and over and over again, just binge a show with ads, and you'll see the same 4 ads every commercial break for 3 or 4 hours straight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like
it'll
progressive
take
insurance.
you right back to Saturday morning.
I got it. Yeah. Which is fun. It's funny because it's like I know that research over many, many years has shown that repetitiveness makes someone buy a product more than not having repetitiveness. But it's like we all know that one ad where we're like, it just sucks. It does not work for me, and I'm not buying those Cheerios because of the stupid ad. I'm not thinking of a Cheerios ad specifically, but it's going back to kind of brain stuff. It really does backfire sometimes.
I am not asking my doctor about that medication.
Just does not sound good.
Does not sound great at all.
Those side effects seem way worse than the benefits.
The speed talker side effects, the last 7 seconds of the commercial was like 9,000 words.
Oh yeah, it's always like side effects include kidney death. Or death.
Yeah.
Premature death.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. Let's figure out my psoriasis. All right. Let's figure out what's going on in the mailbag today.
So Andrew has a letter for us, and they say about Chat GPT. I am a Plus subscriber. GPT has become my most used app. I use it mainly for searching quick information in different subjects, and I use it as a diary in a special folder. Having GPT resuming my day, I'm also, I'm just going to skip down here. I'm also a novel writer, and it gives me immense help. It doesn't write the novel for me, but it helps me with revision and plot ideas, and helps with the right tone for the tone of the scene. Basically, GPT has changed my life.
Oh, Andrew, that's cool. That's really cool.
Andy is right. Yeah, it has changed a lot of people's life. I find myself using not just ChatGPT, but I probably use Gemini a little bit more because I actually pay for Gemini and I don't pay for ChatGPT. But I use these things multiple times a day now. It's probably right up there with checking email at this point.
I mean,
I'm currently using ChatGPT to compile a book of poems that I wrote back in high school.
Well, Andrew, as a novel writer, I can only imagine how something like, it's like, okay, when you're talking about just writing down ideas, for the next novel, it's like you can carry, pen and paper with you. You can do, voice notes to a smartphone type thing. Or you can save it into something like this that maybe, I don't know, output something back that you're like, you know what? That's cool. That's a good resonator type thing. That can help you be more artistic, even though you don't need it to be artistic, but it help you kind of expand some ideas.
I talked about building my second brain in Evernote at the top of the show. And one of the things that I find myself doing more and more and more these days is actually using the audio feature to where I'll just hit a widget on my phone and start talking, and then stop talking and just let Evernote just take care of it. And within seconds, I now have a transcribed note of whatever it was I said to Evernote, and it's now just in my notes. And because I do follow the tenets of building a second brain or second brain building, I do go and I distill my notes probably twice, maybe 3 times a week. So whatever I just said quickly as a text note, it'll be in my notes, and I know what to do with it. Do I want to keep this? Do I want to save it for later? Whatever the case is. But I find that I am absolutely doing voice notes to just talk to this thing and then being able to use it, to use AI to get information out of Evernote. It's really a cool situation for them.
That is cool. Yeah. Well, if anybody has more ideas like Andrie, and thank you, Andrie, for writing in, do let us know. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Of course, if you're a patron, you can also send us a note on Patreon. We look at all of our notes, and we thank you all in advance for all the feedback that you give us, because you make our show better all the time. All right, Rob, we've got some show title suggestions coming in.
We definitely do. Folks have been submitting show titles over at dtns.showbot.tv. And some of the top ones we've got here, our first one is by Saray TW, The Weirding Way.
Oh, what are you calling us, weird?
JPEG 84, being weird is a genetic trait.
Well, that's true. I'm very convinced of that, JPEG 84.
The Reverb Mike says Sarah can't eat 8 eggs.
No. You don't get it right. No. It's not that I can't eat the 8 eggs. It's that I can't have the 8 eggs all haphazardly in the carton once I take the 4 out. They have to be perfectly balanced, or I can't deal with life.
Now, do you pull from the end, or do you pull from the middle, or is it some other type of geometric pattern that you're trying to make?
I pull from the end. Top left, bottom right.
Then
it's still balanced.
You got to have a system, Sarah. You got to have a system.
Yeah. I know. This is weird. All right, we're sharing. This is what we're doing.
So we got a few more here. The Fetish 4, or I should say, the Fetish 4. The Fetish
Are
4,
we the Fetish 4, including you,
No,
Joe? Joe's
no.
like, don't even get me into this.
Yeah, no, the Fetish 4. That is an Amos one. This one is by JPEG 84. And commercials continue to add up.
Oh, add up. I get it. AD up. Sarah TW.
So
Well,
what do we go with, Sarah?
gosh, well, I think we're going to go with commercials continue to add up from Sarah. I think that just makes sense.
All right, it's a good one.
Even though being weird, we're all weird, genetic traits. I think that makes the most sense for our show.
Plus,
title
we
overall.
all like a pun.
I mean, can you imagine if the show title was "Sarah Can't Eat 8 Eggs"? People would be like, I don't know, I'm not going to listen.
What's
to
that about? Yeah.
Some sort of dairy podcast. No thanks. All right. Well, Amos, we do have folks to thank. So who should we thank today?
Well, let's see here. We got Zoe Brings Bacon, dropped us some bits, and C-Spawn cheered us with some bits. And we really appreciate everyone in their interactions with us on Twitch, YouTube, and in Patreon.
We sure do. Thank you.
So, folks, I record a technology podcast every Monday evening with a couple of my buddies, Tech Life Steph and Brother Tech. And this show is called The Tech John. If you want to get the week's tech headlines with insights on how technology affects and disaffects African Americans, then you want to check us out. We come on every Tuesday afternoon. We've been doing the show for going on 4 years. I think we even birthed it. We birthed it out of Experiment Week 4 summers ago. So.
Yeah. It has been like 4 years now.
We're going on 4 years now. So it has been a fun jaunt that we have been on. So come check us out, folks. We have new shows up every Tuesday afternoon, or you can just visit us at the Tech John, thetechjawn.com.
It's a great show, everybody. Do check it out if you haven't already. Terrence and Steph and Rob they're just so much fun to listen to. So please do check it out. Also, check us out. If you're listening, you're like, I'm already checking you out. But you can watch us live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern at 2000 UTC. We do the show live Monday through Friday every day. You can watch us after the fact. You can listen after the fact. But we love our live audience. And you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We are back doing it all again tomorrow with Molly Wood talking about climate change, tech Kickstarters you need to be paying attention to, and Len Peralta drawing the top tech stories. It's going to be a fun show. Hope to see you then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.